Welcome to Shooting the Bull, the official podcast of the Championship Darts Circuit. A casual conversation about the sport of darts, talking about topics of the day from a North American perspective, featuring a cast of characters and contributors from the CDC roster and the world of darts. Now here's your host, Anthony Eugenia.
Hey everybody, welcome into the latest episode of Shooting the Bull, the official podcast of the Championship Darts Corporation. Appreciate having you here for this month's episode. You can find us all things CDC, search up at Champ Darts, and you can find us on Facebook, X, Instagram, TikTok, and of course here on YouTube. You can also find us at www.champdarts.com. All right. In addition, the podcast will be found on Apple and Spotify and other great podcast platforms. All right. So we would ask that you give all of those places a like and a follow. If you like the program, give it a good review on those podcast platforms. Tonight's show, please give it a like and share it. Share it into your dart groups and on your pages. Help spread the word about the show. We enjoy having you guys in, and we enjoy bringing some great and fun content for you. Speaking of having some fun, tonight I am riding solo. All right. So what I thought I would do is take a look at the beginning of the year. You know, a few things that kick off the year normally, PDC-wise. So we'll go over that and a few other announcements. Then we will kind of like take a look and get excited about what's on the horizon from a CDC perspective. All right. So we'll take a look at that and just sort of have some fun. It's just you and I, nice and intimate tonight. All right. I want to take all your questions and comments. So I have the chat here open on YouTube to my right. And let's see if we are live on Facebook. And we are. So let me get that going, and I can get your comments in real time. All right. So welcome in. Our boy, Philip Bars from Online Darts is in, and he says, "Oi, oi, people." He's on his way home from Glasgow. Tonight's PDC Premier League night number 3, won by the very impressive Johnny Clayton. Couple of big weeks for Clayton, and he finally puts it all together, wins the final tonight. Trying to remember who he beat. He had finally dispatched Gerwin Price. I saw that he hadn't beat his teammate in I think 3 years, so he takes him out top 8. Littler, I believe, he beat in the semis, and then Van Veen. Yeah, I think Van Veen, right, in the final. And I'm sure you can correct me in the chat. All right. So let's go into other PDC news. I think what I will just do is I've got a couple of things earmarked on Google. So let's share that. First up, of course, the year always starts off big with the PDC Q School, right? It's the opportunity for players to become true professionals from all around the world. They come in, and there's two locations, one in the UK, one in Germany for the European one. Players can pick either one that they want to go in, and then based on the entries and the available cards, the PDC Pro rates those things. All right. And speaking of our friend in the chat there, it's one of the real gems of Online Darts. They cover each and every day, and it's a whole lot of fun. So we appreciate their work on that. So let's pull this up, and we will take a quick look at the players that won their cards, and we'll see, some notable players here. Push myself off to the side. There we go. So the way the Q School works, if you're unfamiliar with it, there's a phase 1 and a phase 2. Phase 1 is sort of an open entry. As I said, all around the world, players can come and take their shot at the golden ticket, like Uncle Barry likes to call it, because it's an opportunity to truly change your life. And a certain amount of players qualify from phase 1, and they move into phase 2. And that is 4 days of action. It starts off with 128 players that qualified out of phase 1, in addition to players who get granted into phase 2. And those are players who just missed out on retaining their tour card. So, former professionals of the PDC from 2025. So they go right into phase 2. Plus now, additionally, some representatives of the affiliate tours go into phase 2. So it's a 4 days of great action. So here on your screen are the players who earn their cards now, 2-year cards for 26 and 27. Reese Griffin jumps out at you there. Tom Sykes, a lot of people know Sykes from the Modus Super Series. Shane McGurk, your reigning WDF world champion. So, the logical progression for Shane, win that championship and then become a professional. Charlie Manby, we saw in the World Championships. Champagne Charlie Manby, really impressed at the World Championships, made a big run there. And, of course, another player that you know from Modus. So a big thing that he got his card. Stephen Burton, again, another player from Modus. Mervyn King, longtime professional, obviously gets his card back. So we'll see the King back on tour for the next 2 years. So that's part of the group that came out of the UK. Out of the European group, Cristo Reyes. I know. I think is it Dan Dawson keeps talking up Reyes. That Cristo Reyes has his card back, and he's going to be watching him. Jeffrey Deswan, of course, right there. Jimmy Van Schie, Chris Landman, Adam Gaulis, former finalist, I believe, more than once in the PDC World Youth Finals. All right, so those are some of the other names. Quite honestly, there's 1 or 2 I'm staying away from because I can't pronounce it correctly. So you can see them on your screen there. So congrats to all of those players, and that's sort of the big opening for the year from a PDC perspective. We did have some North Americans representatives go over. I think Adam Savada being the one going the furthest, a little bit of on the order of merit, and I know he had a really big, I think, day 3 in that phase 2. So well done to the players that went over, put her on the line and gave it a shot. All right. So let's get that off the screen there. Check back in on the chats. All right, so now we move on in terms of let's stay in the middle of January, but we will move over to the WDF. There's a big WDF event in Las Vegas, the Las Vegas Open, put on by the ADO, the American Darts Organization. Real popular one, of course. You get people from overseas. It was always popular. How do you go wrong with January in Vegas, right? So you had a lot of international players always coming over anyway. Good money, sunshine, so on and so forth. For a couple of years, all credit to the leadership at the time, Widmeyer. Got that to be a gold WDF event, and now there's a gold and a silver. So let's take a look now at those results. And I think I just crashed us. Oh boy. Okay. Nope. I thought we crashed. Maybe I'm doing a little too much here. Okay. So here's the ADO site. If I'm reading it correctly, this is your Saturday gold singles won by Dita Hedman, your reigning WDF world champion, by the way. Dita getting her hands finally on that world championship trophy that everybody had sort of just so desperately wanted to see her hoist. So comes in to Vegas and takes the gold. So she'll return to Lakeside, and I'm sure she was doing that as a winner anyway, but picks up a good chunk of change and then big points as a gold winner for other WDF events. Runner up in that was Callie West. Good to see Callie up and running after some injuries, and it's a real serious field there that she made the final of. So then Saturday we move on. Saturday big men's gold won by Jason Brandon. So JB, Mr. Smooth out of Tennessee, will head back to Lakeside. We saw him make a big run 2 years ago at Lakeside. So he just gets the better of Alex Spellman in that gold single. So congrats to Jason Brandon. Then on Sunday, there was a silver singles, right? Because they're only allowed, I think each nation is maybe allowed 2 golds, maybe even 1. So on Sunday was the silver. Again, another chance to earn some good prize money and some points in the WDF rankings. Dita sweeps the two big WDF singles. She takes the silver on Sunday over Wendy Reinstatler, also from England. Look at that field. If you want to go get a good international taste, you don't have to fly overseas. You got England and Japan, the Netherlands, Canada, US, of course, and a few other, I think, Singapore in there. So pretty cool mix of players from all around the world there in Vegas. And Sunday, silver singles won by Chris Lim. Lightning Lim picks up some silver points in his bid for Lakeside on the WDF rankings. Takes out Jason Brandon in the final. So Jason Brandon just a smidge away from sweeping the weekend, just like Dita did. So that is your results from the Las Vegas Open, WDF gold and silver singles that weekend. All right. Now we keep going around the board on different sorts of news and everything. Let me check the chat. Welcome in, everybody. Let me know if there's anything you want to chat about, any questions you have, anything that I'm bringing up. Give us some feedback. We'll chat in real time. Always fun to get in touch with everybody and find out what's going on. Let us know where you're watching from tonight. And quite honestly as well, while we're sitting here talking as friends, let me know the type of things that you want to see this year on Shooting the Bull. We obviously want to focus on, CDC, North American darts, but if there's guests that you want to see, topics that you want to see covered, or events that you want to see profiled, please let me know in the chat. All right. So moving on, another big item recently was the announcement. Winmar just keeps knocking it out of the park. All right. Recently, they had their 360, which will allow you to rotate the board and always keep that logo up top. But they had to go just one better and just creme de la creme, and they come out with the Blade X, and that is going to be the official board of the PDC staged events, the premier events. I think that's for a good decade. I'm trying to go through the press release here. I'll give you a quote. The Blade X represents the most ambitious leap forward in dartboard engineering we have ever undertaken. Every element of the board has been reimagined, tested, and refined to meet the demands of the modern professional game. All right. And that is from Tom Brown, the CEO of Nodar Group and Winmar. All right. So that was pretty impressive. And we saw that then debuted, and this will be the good transition. So they announced that, and then they put it right up on screen for the first big event outside of course, the PDC kicked off their World Series events. They were in Dubai, and was it Dubai? No, not Dubai. Second was Saudi, and the first one was, I know Phil will tell me in here. Let's see. Not Dubai. All right, I'll get it. Bahrain. Yeah, Bahrain, and then Saudi. But the first ranking event was the Winmar World Masters. So let's pull up those results for you. All right. So we saw Luke Humphreys last year win the first revamped and restyled Winmar World Masters, the exciting set play event that everybody loves. Sets, progressive sets, I think starting at 5, probably up to 11 as I look at the final. But what makes it really fun and exciting is inside each set is only best of 3 legs. So each leg is just harrowing, and there's so much importance and pressure is put on that opening leg of each set. But Humphreys does make the finals in a bid to go back to back. But the reigning world champion Luke Littler pulls out a 6-5 victory. What a thrilling match this was. Both players well over 100. Littler 104, Humphreys 105. So an absolute clash of the Titans to take that Win-Mar World Masters. And there's not too many left for Littler now in terms of a career resume. Can you believe that, he hasn't even gotten out of his teens and he's won nearly every single thing that the PDC has to offer? Off the top of my head, I know the European Championship is one, and I think there's only a second big event that he hasn't won. So congrats to the Nuke. All right. So that sort of does it for, let's close all of that stuff out. Yep, Bahrain. Thank you, Phil. MVG is back. What do you mean by that, Phil? MVG, we thought MVG was back in terms of, right, he wins week 1 of the Premier League, lost to Gerwin Price in week 2, pulls out today based on an illness, right? So let's see what kind of, hopefully he'll get back in form soon. I'm not in form, but I mean, health-wise, because we've seen him in darts form, And Phil confirms here, he says the World Cup. Well, how tantalizing is it? You got to go play with Van Veen. And I heard Van Veen do an interview this week to say that he certainly hopes that Michael was going to play. And, who is not salivating already? In all fairness, I know I'm going to be part of sending a U.S. team, and I'm going to be sending a Canadian team. Oh, and by the way, speaking of the PDC World Cup, this year I definitely want to do start focusing. Not that I don't focus on North American, but the set that I've built here is sort of an homage to the great PDC players and world champions that I've admired and looked up to. I've been lucky to have a couple of shirts that I've worn, and Taylor and Priestley and all the big PDC names. This year it's such an exciting year that I want to focus on North America. So we'll get to that in a little bit. But tonight I am wearing Larry Butler's 2014 PDC World Cup shirt, thanks to Mrs. B a while back. It was gifted to me, and it's been a treasured item that I've had. So we opened up with a John Part shirt in January. Now to Larry Butler in February. Now the pressure's on. I got to make sure I have 10 more good North American shirts for the rest of the year. But like I said at the last show, so if you want to be showcased, then maybe we'll get something in the mail from some of those top players. Peter Cetera is shaking his head. He's like, "Oh my God, he's soliciting darts memorabilia on the podcast. How dare he?" But anywho, okay. So we're talking World Cup. So obviously I want to see the U.S. go and do damage. I want to see Canada head over there and demolish people, but come on, I hate to dismiss a whole entire field, but who's not salivating at the possibility of a Humphreys Littler England team taking on a Van Gerwen Van Veen Dutch team in the final? Like, come on, that is insane. And I cannot wait for it. And that's the World Cup in June, of course. So speaking of June, we'll stay in June. I've got a whole bunch of stuff, but let's stay PDC before we get into CDC here in North America. PDC U.S. Darts Masters. I've got a new flyer that they put out. Let me get myself over here in the corner, and I will get you up the. Is this the PDC? Yeah, we go. PDC U.S. Darts Masters returns to MSG. I think we've got a new name. Infosys or Infosystem is the new name of the theater. So the theater at Madison Square Garden, quite an iconic place, to be honest with you. I looked it up. The Doors played the night that I was being born in Uptown Manhattan. The Jim Morrison and the Doors were on that very stage that Sunday night. That's where Eddie Murphy did his famous stand-up. I can't remember if it's a Raw or Delirious. I think it was Delirious. And a big place that used to, the Felt Forum, they called it. There was big boxing. So it's a really iconic place. And to see darts there is just phenomenal. And this event has gotten bigger and better every year. Tickets are on sale now. I know that they're going and almost gone. So if you're considering this, get on it now for a few reasons. One, the event has just become insanely popular, right? So year after year, tickets are selling quicker, and the sort of line of where seats go is now making its way all the way up to the rafters. And I would imagine this year there may not be a single seat available. The other thing is you'll see the dates have been adjusted. It's been moved to Thursday and Friday, June 25th and 26th. The reason for that is the FIFA World Cup. And sure enough, everybody was holding their fingers when they were doing not just the draw, but then the assignments for the matches. And it was like, don't put England in New York. Don't put England in New York. Don't put England in New York. Well, what did they do? Saturday, June 27th, England is playing right there in New York at the Meadowlands or MetLife Stadium now. So you've got a big England game there, and there's just no way the PDC could go up against England in a World Cup just a few miles away for not only just local concerns, but TV back at home. ITV or Sky. I'm not sure if it's a World Series event. I guess it'd be covered by ITV. Broadcaster does not want to go up against England in the World Cup, so they had to make some adjustments, and I think it was pretty good adjustment. So the event will now be Thursday night will be night one of the U.S. Masters. Friday afternoon will be the PDC North American Championship, and then Friday night we'll put a cap on night two of the PDC U.S. Masters. All right, so that'll be the new schedule. So again, with that World Cup, it's another reason that if you're going to come, tickets are premium, but also flights and hotels. It's doable though. I've seen people work hard, make adjustments and look in the right corners, and it is doable. I'll give you one tip: look into Long Island City. Write that down. Long Island City will be a place that you may be able to get a hotel for a pretty good rate. And it's literally only 10, 15 minutes across the river to get into Manhattan, all right? So that's news on the U.S. Darts Masters, all right? Pardon me for a little water break. So that sort of covers most of the PDC events, all right? Welcome in everybody in the chat. Let me know if you've got any questions or things going on, regarding what we've talked about. PDC, whole bunch of PDC news there with the new Winmore X board, results from the World Masters, players going to Q School, and then of course the upcoming U.S. Darts Masters. You know what? Good thing in the chat. Tell me the players that you would like to see on the PDC side. A lot of times they've sent almost nearly the entire Premier League roster. So you let me know who you would like to see in New York City on the PDC side. From a CDC side, the way it's going to work is, any tour card holders get in. Right now, Jim Long from Canada is the only North American PDC tour card holder, so Jim is going to get in. Alex Spellman is in. He's the winner of the CDC Continental Cup in 2025, so he's got a spot. We've got the CDC Cross Border coming up in April. All right, we'll talk about that in a few minutes. The winner of that is going to get a spot in MSG. All right, so that's going to leave 5 spots. So we do have 2 qualifiers coming up, open qualifiers. Like if you that you do not need to be a CDC tour card holder. Right, so one in weekend 1 in Niagara Falls and one in weekend 2 in Philadelphia. All right, we'll be posting the times and information on that soon, along with, obviously, I said there's 5 spots. The winner of those 2 qualifiers will get in. PDC will have news soon on the additional qualifying criteria for the rest of those spots. All right, but as I said, you can come and play if you're a North American resident or resident, green card holder, citizen. You got to meet the PDC guidelines to make it to the World Championship, because that's what's at stake here. So if you meet that criteria, you can come play in one of or both of those qualifiers that we've got on offer. Now I know offhand you say, well, if I don't have a CDC card, why am I going to come all the way in? Can't play the CDC weekend. But literally, think about it. For a real nominal fee, for what this road that you can go on, for a real nominal fee, if you think that you're that good, if you look at the players at MSG, if you look at the players in the World Championship and you say, I can beat those guys, I can compete with them, this is your chance, right? So for a real nominal fee, you can come in, play in a qualifier, and from that qualifier, you go to MSG. At MSG, you've got guaranteed money in both the U.S. Masters and the North American Championship, all right? So two paydays, two bang for your buck right there. I off the top of my head, I'd have to say it's probably potential. Well, if you want it, I know first place in the North American is 10 grand, and then the U.S. Masters, depending upon where you go. So you can win anywhere from say 5 to probably 15, 20 grand in that event. All right. Then if you win that North American Championship, you get the 10 grand, and now you get a spot in the PDC World Championship at the Ali Pali at the end of the year in December, right? So, and then if you think you're that good, if you can compete with the best in the world, go win a world championship, right? So you can literally go from, if you're a guy who says, hey, I can't make it to all these weekends, I can't travel, but you know what? I play world-class darts, either online or in my basement or at my pub. And I'm not joking. Hey, there's guys, maybe there is a guy out there who plays in his basement. You know what? And he's playing world-class numbers. He's playing at 110. That guy can literally go from his basement to a world championship, and that's the route. CDC qualifier, MSG, Ali Pali, and your name's in history. So go for it. I don't see why you shouldn't. So that's what's going to happen with the qualifiers and the PDC Masters. All right. Let's talk about the CDC. How does the CDC work? All right. The CDC works this way. It's based on a tour card system. All right. To play in a CDC event in one of the 6 weekends, you do need to have a CDC tour card. Okay. So the field is made of tour card holders. How do you get a tour card? All right. There's a few short criterias. One, there's a group of players who have retained their card from last year. They were ranked high enough that they retained their card now for 2026. All right. Other ways, we have Q schools. We have CDC Q schools, they're called. I'll go over that in a separate segment. All right. If you go to these events, they are tied to large open weekends and tournaments that we have partnered with. And it's a chance for players to go to that big weekend and also, in addition, get a crack at earning a tour card. So at these events, based on the participation numbers, you can win a tour card anywhere from 1 up until 8 cards. All right. So players earn their cards at the Q school. The cards that you earn at Q school are a 2-year card. So the players earning cards now will be 2026 and 2027. All right. The other area is we also support what's called the Dart Players system here in the States. They're long format tournaments that take place all year long. They play similar to the CDC, long format events, and they have a grand championship in each particular tour. At the end of that year, that player is also extended a tour card, right? So that's how you get your field of tour card holders as we enter each and every season. It's roughly, the 128 number. There's no set number based on that fluctuation at Q school, but roughly there's in that 128 realm. Okay, it's open to any of those 128 players for each and every of the 16 events that we have playing over the 6 weekends. All right. If there's one little caveat, if less than 64 players register that are tour card holders, enter into an event. So let's say we have 60 tour card holders register. Going into a weekend, we would then look at what we call the associates list. All right. The associates list is made up of players who have participated in the Q schools that we'll talk about, but didn't earn a card. They earn points. So there's a ranking system that they will earn points there, and you can earn points in our CDC Summer Series. So there is a separate associates list, okay, that you keep points for. And let's say in that case where there are 4 spots, we will extend an invitation to 4 of those players to round out the field in the CDC main event. All right. So that's how you get to play CDC darts. So if you want to come out this summer, you need to get out to one of these Q schools, get a card, and then you can come out and play all summer long. All right. And then, the circuit itself is its own animal, and we can get to that later. All right. I just want to put that out there. Okay. Now, getting to Q schools. Let's do a little promo on the Q schools. Okay. So here is your updated and current list of Q schools. We opened up with a few. We opened up the Scary Hare, I believe, out in Colorado. We were also at the Buckeye in Ohio, the KW Tri-Cities, the Quebec Open. We were at Philadelphia, and I'm probably missing one, but we've had a great start to the year. This is the rest of the slate. We've just announced 2 opportunities to play online. So you can play online from home. All right. All you need to do is be able to get on Discord and have 1 camera for your board. All right. We will supply that information and we'll get you set before things go. Registration and info will be up soon on champdarts.com. This weekend, Syracuse. Syracuse just happened. We need to get a post up on results on this past weekend. Coming up this weekend is Port City, Shoot for the Moon, and then subsequently Shoot the Rapids, the Manitoba Open, Virginia Beach, and Tri-Coda, along with those online opportunities. All right. It's growing every year. So if you have a region of the country that is not being serviced and you have an open event that you'd like to bring in a CDC Q school, definitely get in touch with us. You can send an email, info@champdarts.com, or message us on Facebook. But the email is where you want to go, so we can make sure we get that message and we can talk to you about that. All right. Let me put up a little. No, we don't want that. Let's get. Nope, we don't want that. Sorry, putting up the wrong ticker. That's what we want. All right, a little ticker on Q School, so you can register at champdarts.com/Q School. All right, you can also find a tab on the homepage, and that'll bring you to the registration page. And my partner Peter Cetera has those chronologically set up, so I'm sure the next 3 to 5 are sitting up there for you to register. All right, you do get a discount if you pre-register. We do take registration on site, but like I said, there's a little bump in price, so you can save some money if you pre-register. And all the info on the event is there on the page. All right, and there's no dress code for Q School, but there is a dress code when you earn your tour card and head out on the CDC tour. All right. Someone's asking, hey, Corey Turner. We're going to talk about Newfoundland in just a moment. We'll promote the cross border coming up. Let's check out the chat in YouTube. An OD shirt, yes. I do need a online dart shirt, Phil. Very much so. So I'm glad you offered. I'll expect that in a post haste, if you will. We got D Production Darts says meeting and talking with Gary Anderson was the best part ever at a PDC event. Gary Anderson never disappoints. So yeah, if you got a chance to talk to the Flying Scotsman, definitely. And me and Phil are big Gary Anderson fans. And then we got another guy. Yep, he says that's the best thing about darts. A guy on the bar stool can become world champ. I mean, I'll take that this way. Like yes and no. Yes, in the honest to goodness scenario I just laid out for you, right? In that there is a pathway. There is a true pathway. And not all sport is like that. So to your point, kudos that darts still has an avenue like that. You can't just go play for Arsenal, or you can't just go play for Madrid or the Edmonton Oilers and win a Stanley Cup. It's not that easy, but there is a pathway. But that being said, though, that comment, I don't want that comment to make it framed like, it's still just a bar sport with, not, this has now become top level sport. This has now become, true sport. I mean, this is now, top level sport at its highest. This is big money, big competitions, big pressure, big expectations on these players. So, in that regard, I think we've gotten to a place where it's a bona fide sport, and you could, the viewing numbers in the UK and large parts of Europe, back that up. We got a player headed to the Port City Open, so good to see you there. Hope you're playing Q School. All right. So let's move on to, I got my little list here. So we've talked about Q School from a CDC perspective. Let's talk about, you know what? I'm going to talk about the circuit itself. Let's talk the circuit itself. All right. Because that ties in with the Q School idea, right? So where are you going to go if you win your tour card this year? All right. You're going to hit the CDC circuit, the championship dart circuit. We've got 6 weekends, different parts of the country. Over those 6 weekends, we've got 16 main events, plus those 2 PDC, U.S. Darts Masters qualifiers that I talked about. May 8th and 9th, we are in Niagara Falls, and you've got 2 events plus qualifier. Then we move into in June, June 5th and 7th. Is in Philadelphia. We'll have a qualifier and 2 events. Then we move down to Brownsburg, Indiana, right outside Indy. And in the middle of July, that'll be 3. From this weekend onward, it'll be 3 events each weekend. Then we've got back-to-back weekends in Chicago, August 28th and to the 30th, September 18th to 20th. That's in Oak Brook Terrace. We've been there the last couple of years. Great place. They love having us. We love being there. So there'll be 3 events each of those weekends. And then this year in October, we're using that for our weekend number 6. And that's going to be in St. Catharines in Ontario for the last weekend 6, which will be 3 weekends. All right. Then that leads you, after those 16 events, this year, the top 24 will make it into the Continental Cup. Previous years, we had 16. So this is a big development that the prize money is going up, and it's going up in a nice fashion. The prize money is going up in the Continental Cup, plus the field is going up in the Continental Cup, all right? So it'll be 24 players that are going to get a crack at the Continental Cup Championship, with itself is a $5,000 first prize. You get a spot in the Grand Slam. You get a spot in the World Championships, and you get a spot in the World Championships. So you're looking at probably $40,000 for winning the CDC Continental Cup when it's all said and done. So a major prize at the end of the road of the championship dart circuit here in 2026. So as I said, this is a big, big year coming up for North American darts. The prize money's gone up on this tour. The 16 events you're looking at are going to have a prize pool of $208,000. All right. And you put in the Continental Cup and the cross border that we're going to talk about in a moment. Those events are going to be $250,000 over the course of the year. So we're at $250,000 payouts. All right. So you've got big money, big opportunity, big competition here on the circuit. All right. So it really is coming together this year. It's going to be a real sort of celebration of North American darts. I really feel that way. My partners, Peter, David, and Jeff, really feel the same. And of course, with our great staff, we're really excited to get this year going and get these events to you. It just feels there's a crackle in the air. We're excited, and I hope you guys are too, from not only a player perspective, because we think, the opportunities are great and the product is on offer is great, but as fans, we hope that you really enjoy what we're going to bring to you. All of these events are going to be streamed. Our staged events are going to have crowds, and we're going to stream those, and we're going to bring to you again this year 5 boards of coverage, 5 out of 8 boards. I mean, that's simply phenomenal. So tons of championship dart circuit action coming to you in 2026. All right. Let me get that down, get myself out of here just for a moment. And we'll sort of take a segue and let you know that this is the best way to keep in touch. So if you want to stay in the know with the CDC, sign up for the CDC newsletter. Be the first to get all the latest news, tips on improving your own dart game, special offers, discounts, insider info. And you can get that by signing up for the newsletter. You can use that QR code in front of you, or you go to champdarts.info/in-the-know. All right. It was a perfect time to go to that, because that's how you're going to stay up to date. You can stay up to date on our social medias and getting that newsletter, and that's how you'll know when the events are when the Q schools are coming up, when the events are coming up, when tickets go on sale for the cross border, when tickets go on sale, additional tickets for the U.S. Masters, when tickets go on sale for the Continental Cup. We have great contests and giveaways on the newsletter as well. We've got some really great sponsors, and they love taking care of you guys because you take care of us. All right. We got a shout out for the Continental Cup, a dark horse, an early prediction. Scott Estel out of New England. Somebody throws his name out for a dark horse in the Continental Cup. So I love it. Never too early for Continental Cup predictions. All right. Before we I keep teasing the cross border, but we'll get there. We'll get there. What I want to do is I want to stay with the idea of celebrating North America this year, right? As I said, going to try and wear a lot of North American stuff this year. Privileged to have this shirt on. Thank you, Larry and Sharon. A little disclosure, I'm moving to a new set, moving to a new location, and I'm actually in the process of putting that together now. I'm still going to have some of these great, images behind me, and, these guys are just, you got Philip Douglas Taylor up there. We got Mr. Anderson, my boy Eric Bristow, along with others. These are my heroes. But I'm trying to put together a set that, sort of celebrates North America a little bit more. So I'm doing my best to get more images of some of the great players that we've seen over the last few decades, both Canadian and U.S. So I hope to, next month debut a nice, cool set that has, like I said, some images of some players that you might know and love. And I'm trying to get my hands on more and more sort of memorabilia and images to display. So I want you to join in with us. Let us know on our social media platforms and here in the chat, what things you want to talk about this year. In what ways do you want to celebrate North American darts? What kind of players can I do interviews with? I sat down and talked to Alex Spellman at the end of last year for long format, and I'd like to continue that. There's a lot of great players that are no longer active that we can sit and chat with, and of course there's a multitude of great players that are still active. But let us know who would you like us to get caught up with, then how's this player doing, how's that player doing, or give you a profile on some of the greats that represented both Canada and the United States. So just wanted to again reiterate the feel that I want this to be a North American celebration. Myself and my partners have been not only fans, but have been involved in North American darts for a very long time in different facets. Peter Cetera, for goodness sakes, has sort of just traveled to nearly every nook on this continent to put on a dart event. My other partner, L. David Irene, has been covering, trying to put a camera in front of this great game for nearly as long as I've been born, late 70s with the North American Open in Las Vegas, and that's just progressed, so it's been a lifelong passion for him. And Jeff Good, our other partner, is just sort of like, flat out just, worked his hiney off with every chance he can get, going all the way back to the New World Dart Series and Jay Tomlinson's North American Tour. And, so it's a passion, and we know you have that passion too. So, may 2026 be, the glorious and celebratory year for North American darts. All right. So that being said, let's get in to the event that's coming up. So, folks, for the first time on Canadian soil. So, first off, let's address the beautiful poster in front of you. So, we've got a special guest coming in. The legendary PDC Hall of Fame referee Russ Bray will be joining us in Newfoundland, in Deer Lake. So Russ will, not only be there to entertain and to meet and greet everybody. He's going to be our lead referee. So that great call, and I'm not even going to attempt to replicate it. The call. You'll hear that at the cross border. So fantastic and thrilled to have Russ on board. And then we've got the Canadian teams: Albert Anstey, David Cameron, Daryl Christie, Kylie Edmonds, Jim Long, John Part, Jeff Smith, and Jacob Taylor. All right. You are looking at, Team Canada, winners of the first two cross-border darts challenge events. They will be taking on the defending champions, Team USA, Doug Boehm, Jason Brandon, Stowe Bunce, Larry Butler, Nick Lindberg, Gary Mawson, Leonard Gates, and Adam Savada. So truly, I think that is the best lineup on both sides that we've had in the 4 years. So this is going to be epic. Two great teams, all right? And we'll talk about, it's a singles event, but with a team twist, all right? And as I said, this is the first year it's going to be on Canadian soil. We've known since year one that we want to get it up there. And we most likely kind of knew from year one that it was going to be Newfoundland. It's just a matter of getting it all squared. We know the insane passion that is up there. Tickets have moved really well. We are almost sold out for Saturday night. Tickets still available for Friday. So this place is going to be jumping. It is going to be phenomenal. And all fairness, you got to say it out loud. The Team Canada boys have been super gracious. 3 years now in the States. It's part of being, the away team. They've heard the USA chants. For the most part, it's been friendly. Certainly, there's been one or two things that, we're not comfortable with. We never want to see that, but it was a USA crowd, to say the least. So I'm happy for those boys that, I'm sure that David Cameron being one is chomping at the bit to make that walk on Canadian soil and get up on that stage, and hear the crowd, at his back, rooting him on big time, so that's going to be an interesting twist to see how the, USA team is received. Obviously, pretty much the most gracious and wonderful people on the planet are the Canadian people. So, you would expect a great warm welcome, but this is sport. This is fun. This is coming out to have a good time. So certainly a little ribbing and a little, big time chanting for Team Canada is to be expected, and it's going to be a lot of fun. All right, so let's talk about how did these players that you see in front of your screen, how did they get there, okay? There is qualifying criteria for this event. I think, 80% of it is qualifying, is players, there's a road to get there. At the end of the year, at the end of 2025, the rankings, we go through the rankings, and the top 6 United States players and the top 6 Canadian players both earn their invites. Okay. So 6 out of the 8 players are coming through the rankings. They've worked their butts off, over the course of that circuit, and not only got into the Continental Cup, but then get into the cross border. Okay, so you could have players that are a little bit all over the rankings. So it's top 6 from each nation. All right. Out of those 6, just for the record, the only player that didn't accept an invite was Alex Spellman. All right. So Alex, as he's talked about, you can go find that on his page. Just from a scheduling standpoint, he passed on playing on the cross border. All right. So what that does is we always take that spot, and that is a wild card that we will fill. And then those 6 spots are offered to players from the rankings. And then, yes, the last 2 spots on each team are wild cards. And I mean pure wild cards at the straight discretion of the Championship Darts Corporation. It's been that way from the very beginning. We can reach out to players. We just want to be able to give an opportunity many different ways. It could be, and it has been in the past, players who are active PDC players who don't get a chance to play home very often. It could be a player that plays in the CDC but is a little lower ranked, but is from the region, and that would be exciting to see them on stage in their region. It could be a player that doesn't play CDC but is of note that we want to give an opportunity for fans to see. So it really is, and I know not everybody loves that, but that's the beauty of it, that we can discuss it, have fun with it, and add a little sports talk twist to this whole thing, and have a little back and forth about who should have been invited if they didn't get invited, and who did get invited and did they deserve it. All right. So out of those, so that's the team aspect. All right. So there's 8 Canadians and 8 USA players. All right. They are then seeded from the top 4 in those rankings on the USA side and the top 4 on the Canadian side, and that's how the bracket will go. Like the top USA player goes here, top Canadian here. Top 4 USA, like that. So it's meant to be a way where both number 1 seeds from each nation are separate and could only meet in the final. The 1 seed from USA and 2 seed from USA, opposite sides, can only meet in the final. Number 1 Canada here, number 2 Canada can only meet in the final. So it's still, there's a lot of that integrity of the seeding, and the best players can only meet in the final. But then we put a little wrinkle of a little fun. So 4 of the 8 players from each nation are seeded into that bracket. The rest of it is a random draw. So what you would do is you would take the 4 ranked USA players, and you take the 4 unranked Canadian players and draw them against those players, right? So every single match in round 1 will be a USA versus Canada matchup. And that's what makes Friday night just tons of fun at the cross border. So each and every match on Friday night in Deer Lake will have a USA versus Canada matchup, right? So that's why that first night is a real, nation feel and all of that stuff. And then it kind of transitions into the next night into the singles event. All right. So the Nations Cup is the part of the event that we award to either team that wins it. Each match, so there's 15 matches over the course of the weekend. Each match is worth 1 point. So whichever team, USA or Canada, gets to 8 points first, gets the Nations Cup. So as I said, Canada won the first 2. USA got some redemption here at the last one out there in Southern California. So that's the sort of Nations Cup thing. Going into night 2 is a simple bracket. So the 8 players that win from Friday night move into the bracket on Saturday night, and you get your now proper, it's a quarterfinals, to semis and finals, and we play along with the bracket. So some of those matchups based on results from Friday could be USA, Canada, or USA versus Canada. That all, is settled once Friday night's games are played. So there's kind of 2 components to this that make it a whole lot of fun. All right. So let me quickly go into the post. I should have had it written down, and I apologize that I didn't. I want to give you the seeds because I know you guys are going to be curious about that. All right. So the USA seeds: 1, Adam Savada; 2, Stowe Bunce; 3, Leonard Gates; for Gary Mawson. Okay, so those 4 USA seeded players will get drawn against the non-ranked Canadian players. All right, and then Team Canada, seed 1, David Cameron, 2, Darryl Christie, 3, Kylie Edmonds, 4, Jim Long. All right, so you've got those USA players could get drawn against John Part, Jeff Smith, looks like Jacob Taylor, or Albert Anstey. All right, so stuff like that. I'll give you a little peek behind the curtain. I'm going to see maybe next month here on Shooting the Bull, maybe we can do the draw live, either next month in March or at the beginning of April. We can do that live on the show. All right, so that draw will be pending as we get closer to the event. All right, the event is off the top of my head, I believe we go 11, 13, 15, or maybe 9 on Friday, then 11 for the quarters, 13 for the semis, 15 for the finals. All right, so there's your rundown on the how the players got there, who's seeded, how it gets drawn in, what the format is, and then here's your prize money. Prize money should be about $17,000. Players know that already. We'll make that public soon, with the winner making, I think, approximately $3,500 and a spot at MSG for the U.S. Masters. All right, so lots of fun and lots of stuff to play for coming up April 17th and 18th in Deer Lake on Newfoundland for the 4th annual CDC Cross Border Darts Challenge. All right, you can go to champdarts.com to get tickets. You'll have that ticket link there. Like I said, Saturday night's moving, so if you want some Saturday night tickets, get there now. I would not wait. And Friday night is probably at about half capacity, so we'll pump that up and we'll get that selling as well. All right. Let's bring this puppy home. We'll take a look in the chat and see who's here watching on Facebook. Welcome in, everybody. And let's go. We've got a couple of comments here. More talk about the idea of that, you can come from out of nowhere and make it big in darts, and that's true. That's true via a few ways. You can. That's why Barry Hearn calls it the golden ticket to get to Q School and then earn that card, and that sets you out on a path of glory. We got a question. Hopefully someday the Cross Border Challenge will have a mix of women's and men's players. There's no reason that can't happen now. The Championship Darts Circuit is an open circuit, open to all players in North America. As I said, who meet that criteria of qualifying for the World Championship. So men and women, we have had many female tour card holders. I'm trying to think of who is active right now. Tracy Firetag, you saw her on stage at Lakeside. She has a tour card. I think Liz Tynan might still have a card right now. We've had many women come through, so we certainly welcome. The point and the goal of this circuit has always been to get the best dart players in North America in one room, playing each other over and over and over and over again. Whether it be they originally came from the soft tip realm, now they could come from the online realm, getting experience playing at home, now come out and play, whether it's male, female. It does not matter what your discipline is. American darts, Whitties in Pennsylvania, if you're a talented dart player, we want you as part of the circuit, and that's the goal. So we just want the best. So yeah, we want each and every cross border to be, 16 of the best stars that North America has to offer. All right. Man, I had a good thought there and I just now forgot it. All right. That probably means we should wrap things up, right? So we've talked about some PDC stuff. We talked about signing up for the newsletter, which will keep you in the know for everything. We just ran down a whole bunch of cool stuff for CDC, the cross border. We've got Q schools underway. The tour has been announced. All right, so be on the lookout for more for more news, coming up from a CDC perspective, we're gonna, we'll have announcements on, specifics on some things from the tour. We'll have scheduling out real soon in terms of what each of those 6 weekends looks like. What's being played on Friday, what's being played on Saturday, what's being played on Sunday. Yes, somebody's asking about the youth tour. Yeah, I didn't even go into the youth. That's, that's a good idea for one of the 2 shows coming up in the next 2 months. We will focus on the youth. Matter of fact, I saw a lot of crackling in the message groups in the last 48 hours about the youth itself. All right. I'll give you a little behind the scenes. It looks like we should have 3 youth weekends coming up. They're being put together. A lot of passion behind that endeavor. All right. So both, junior darts, 17 and under, and evolution darts, in that 23, 24 and under range. Those players as well. Not a ton of money. We know that, so we're very sensitive to that. It's about getting players out, getting them experience, and getting them instilled with the passion and experience to continue to take it to the next level. But in the here and now, both of those, levels have, international places to go. The juniors have an opportunity to represent in the JDC Junior Darts Corporation World Cup and World Championships. So you play on the CDC Junior Tour, you can go play for a World Championship as a junior player. And then at the next level, the evolution level, we're blessed to have 2 Canadian and 2 United States spots in the Winmar World Youth Championship. And that's the one that you've seen Jan van Veen win, right, 2 years in a row now, that Littler won in the past. And, Josh Rock and Michael Smith and Nathan Aspinall, Dimitri Vandenberg, like that is a prestigious event. And the only way you can get there from North America is through the CDC Evolution Tour. So, yeah, we'll have some news on that, and we want to keep growing that endeavor. All right. I want to thank everybody so very much for joining me tonight. It's been a real pleasure to come on and get caught up with everybody. Exciting stuff coming up in the few months, obviously, for the events that I just laid out, but tied to that, some exciting stuff. I'm sure we will see friends from the CDC on the shows coming up, and we will have in-depth, dives into the cross-border when we have brackets set up, when New York is starting to come together, so we're going to have some great shows for you coming up this spring here on Shooting the Bull. So I very much appreciate your support. Okay. Thanks everybody that joined us tonight in the chat. Thanks to the whole CDC team for your support, for helping to make this happen. Thank you to everybody listening on podcast post tonight's event. And so don't forget, to be yourself, know yourself, and, just be kind to yourself and be kind to others. All right. So I will see you as we prep out here. I will see you next month on Shooting the Bull. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks for joining us for Shooting the Bull, the official podcast of the Championship Darts Circuit. Subscribe to the show so you don't miss an episode, and follow us at Champ Darts on social media to keep up with all of the latest news on North American darts.